Welcome, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your producer and host of the show, Dr. Lino Martinez. This is your motivational podcast of people's incredible journeys. Oh yeah, let's do this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Little Less Fear podcast, the Dr. Lino Show. I would like to welcome Dr. Lynn Carey. She's passionate about raising the consciousness of the planet. Dr. Lynn Carey earned a doctorate in chiropractic and a bachelor's degree in nutrition from Life University. She owned a practice in Wilmington, Delaware for 18 years and has traveled to Brazil and India. Dr. Carey loves empowering others to create their desired life of health, wealth, and perfect self-expression. Today, she stays busy pursuing her entrepreneurial dreams and homeschooling her teenage son. Welcome to A Little Less Fear podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Lino. It's an honor to be here.
Definitely a pleasure. So this is a motivational podcast, and we basically talk about people's journeys and to see what got you to where you are at today, what's motivated you to be where you are at today. And you can start wherever you'd like.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to narrow it down as much as I can because it probably can go on a million tangents. But, just growing up, I feel like this is important too for my journey because I feel like every disease that we get labeled with there's an emotional attachment behind it. There's something that we have to power through or uncover or learn. And I know growing up, I always thought there had to be more to life. Just what I was being shown was life, just school and work and all this. I just was very depressed. And so when I was a teenager, I was diagnosed with scoliosis, which is the curvature of the spine. And so my spine was in an S shape. And actually the emotion behind the spine going in two directions is that you're actually emotionally, you feel pulled in two directions. Like what you feel
That's incredible.
It is incredible. And I think people, this is where the power is. If we can get to the root of what's going on with us, and the emotions are so important. But I felt there had to be more to life. And then, but yet my parents, my mom, my family, church, school was all telling me something different, and it just didn't. And I was depressed because of it. So, and actually I remember.
Do you mind me asking, sorry to interrupt, what were they telling you?
Well, I mean, I hated school for one thing. I hated it. And I was an honor student, A student. And my mom was like, these are the best years of your life. Wait till you get out. You're going to wish you were back. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it gets worse than this. And I find that there's more to it than just school. I'm not saying, I don't think school should be the end all be all. There's more, we should have more options. Mm-hmm. Just the way it's structured all day. I think we just need more variety in that. And just the things that we're learning. I really didn't learn things like life stuff that would have helped me out later, and things like that. And then just the churches, I was raised Catholic. It's just, you're unworthy. You're a sinner.
Yes.
And it's so depressing. And then then there's the money, everybody's working hard, but you always had to be, I was always felt guilty if we spent money unless it was a necessity. So I was like, where's the fun? What are we doing? It just felt like a prison all the way around.
And none of these things were addressing your scoliosis as well.
No. Oh no. Everything was categorized.
You didn't really find refuge.
Yeah, right. And so, but I do remember when I ended up having spinal surgery for it because the medical world told me I was a good candidate for it. And I didn't want to wear this god awful brace they had me in that I would have had to wear till I was done growing, which could have been another 4 or 5 years. They say you'll be done with the surgery. You'll be pretty much healed. And the problem was, I do remember being in the hospital. I was actually feeling like, well, this is better than my life. I have a respite. Yeah. Here I am. I can, it gives me a break from all that. So, which is sad to say, right? And it wasn't that it's not that I didn't feel loved by my family, or it wasn't that I was abused. So I almost have guilt for, feeling that way, but it's the truth. And I think a lot of people struggle with what the mainstream society tells us. I think that's why there is a lot of depression and a lot of things going on today that maybe we need to look at how we do things,
For sure.
So anyway, I ended up having the surgery, which they said was a success, but it left me sick and in pain for years. My immune system was compromised. So I was always sick. And then I started having severe pain. I mean, pain where like I couldn't walk, I would fall down, my legs would give out on me and things like that. So I always was told you go to college to get a degree, to get a good job. And I was in college trying to find myself, and someone told me to look into chiropractic. I never heard of it, but it had a philosophy in the pamphlet that I read, and it said the power that makes the body heals the body. And I was like,
I love
why
that.
hasn't anybody said that to me? That's amazing.
Yeah, I love that. The power that makes the body heals the body.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yes. And I just went to chiropractic school, and that philosophy, I didn't even get adjusted. So I didn't even understand really what I was getting into. I swear it was a God call, so I ended up going to chiropractic school, and it changed my life in every which way.
That's beautiful. So how did it, let's go back to your surgery. What did they do in your surgery? How did they quote unquote fix you?
Yeah. So what they did was, they put Harrington rods, they're metal rods they put in your spine. And what they do is they cut off pieces of your spine so they can fit the rods in there. And also then they sprinkle all those bone chips on top because they want to fuse all the discs, because basically they don't want your spine to keep growing crooked.
Okay.
But the problem is your spine should be moving to stay healthy. That's how your nervous system stays healthy, because it exits. True. That's how your brain communicates to your body, through the spine. That just protects the nerves. That's the wiring. Right. That's the whole basis of chiropractic. That's why we adjust the spine, to keep motion in there, so that your immune system is 100%. It's the life force. We acknowledge that there is a life force or an inner wisdom. We call it innate intelligence. Mm-hmm. That's how the brain, it goes down the spinal cord out to the nervous system. And then that's how the nerves send the messages back up. And the spine is just the housing for that. It's protection. Skull protects the brain. The spine protects the spinal cord. And so we adjust that to keep open flow. It's not that we cure anything. It's just to keep those wires of communication open so that the body can do what it has to do. There's no interference.
And so I can imagine that after surgery like that, it took years to really kind of feel a little bit more normal. I mean, because I had my urinary bladder removed. It took me 5 years to recover from that. How long did it take for you to recover from such a surgery?
The surgery, it's crazy because I think about it. I had the surgery, and within like 10 days, I was in the hospital, and then like another week, I was back in school. I had to wear the brace still for like another 6 months, and then I could, just for like protection. But then all my problems started. Like I didn't have, you know what I mean? Like it looked like the spinal surgery was fine, but then all of a sudden now I had like chronic sore throats. I had headaches. Mm-hmm. I had pain going down my legs. Like this was like on and off stuff all the time.
Yes.
And then I even got chickenpox like a year to the date, like later, because my immune system, they had rods in my spine. They tried to fuse it, all the trauma. Plus, we never addressed the emotional issues behind it in the first place, right? We didn't get there.
So you've got the trauma, you have the emotional trauma, the physical trauma, your cortisol levels are out of whack, and your hormones are probably out of whack. Everything's out of whack at this point.
Everything. And you think you're 15. I was 15 when I had the surgery. Your body's already going through so much. You know what, actually?
So true. Wow.
But think about, like, this is pretty powerful, and not to give like too much information, but I didn't have my period yet as a 14-year-old. And so that's why they knew I would still have it. They said you usually have your period and then you have another couple years to really be your body matures into adulthood. Well, I didn't even have my period yet. That's why they said I was going to have to wear that brace for like another 4 or 5 years, because I was in early stages of teenage development. That's how they knew. But they said, once you have the surgery, your period's going to come on. Now, isn't that kind of creepy? And sure enough, within 4 months, I got it.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't know where that connection is, but all I know is this is how much interference happens with the body. It's not on its own time. Now it's triggering. You know what I mean? There was interference there that they caused. And I was lucky in the sense that after they actually took the rods out, because normally at that Harrington rod surgery, they would just leave those metal rods in your spine for life. But I think because I was having pain, they took them out. So I was just turning 17 when they took them out. And I'm grateful that they're not in there, because I think it's better to not have the metal rods in there, because I could get adjusted now and, like a normal spine.
I also find it interesting that you went into chiropractic considering everything that you went through with your spine.
I know.
What do you
I'm
think
telling you,
about that? Have you thought about that?
yes, it's amazing. I mean, I think about they tried to close down my spine, and then my profession, I end up learning how to open up the spine. I mean, it's not a coincidence. Like I always think that. Like if I knew what I knew today, I would have never had my spinal surgery, right? But I would never go back and change it because I believe through the disease process, whatever it is, and I think you can attest to this. No
Absolutely.
matter what your challenges are, it's a God gift. Like it's an
Yes.
avenue to go through this period of feels like darkness and despair. But if you can allow yourself to go through it, and you really can become so empowered and enlightened. And that's why I don't want anybody to be depressed if they have a disease label right now, or they're fighting for something right now for their life, even, because I know in my heart anything can heal. And it's an opportunity for a true awakening and to come into your power. It's a gift.
It really is. And when did you realize that you had this power within yourself? Going
I
back to
think,
the quote, the power that made the body heal the body. When did you realize you had
yeah,
this?
I think when I went into chiropractic school, I was blessed because I was having my own personal issues, but I was able to be in like this cocoon of chiropractors and people learning this material that the body heals itself. Like it was a whole new way of looking at life and how the body heals. And basically, like we would have these philosophy seminars, and the founder of the school, Dr. Sid Williams, he would drop the keys, his car keys. He would drop them. And he goes, what happens every time you drop the keys? They fall to the ground. Like gravity works every time. He goes, well, guess what? Your life force in your body works every time. There's no mistakes. Your body heals itself. It's always going towards health. So you have to figure out what's blocking that flow. I'm like,
Wow.
that's so powerful.
So your body is always healing itself, and you have to figure out the blockages that are prohibiting it.
Yep. So I'll tell you. So I'm going to get to that too. Let me finish my. Like, see, I go in and
Yes,
out.
please.
I lost my fear. So when I was in this cocoon of chiropractors, I lost my fear that I would never get better. I kept thinking like, I'm never going to get better, because this was like 5-6 years. And then even starting to get adjusted, it wasn't a quick fix overnight. You know, I still had pain. Sometimes the pain would be worse. And, but then once something clicked, because I started really understanding the power that made the body heals the body. And I lost my fear. And then I started having a shift. I felt like when the fear lessened is when I started to heal. And I think then that propelled me into continuing my journey, getting into practice for a couple of years. We'll get into why the blockage, that blockage of fun. But I also went into my grace state, where I went on some mission trips to Brazil and India, and I was exposed to different levels of energy just in these healing environments. And I realized this was our natural state. The grace state is what we're all looking for.
Did you say a gray state?
Grace.
Oh, grace, as in GRACE.
Yes.
But Dr. Carey, what led you to want to go to Brazil and India? Was it an inner calling, or was it curiosity?
Yeah, it was an inner calling. I had chiropractor friends who had connections in those countries.
Okay.
And they just wanted to go bring chiropractic to that area for free because they didn't have it. And so I just went, and we went for like a week to 10 days, and we just adjusted people. And it was really powerful because we could set up our tables. People would just line up, and it's not that we could communicate because they spoke a different language. I mean, we had translators, but it wasn't like people could just come and tell you their problems, because sometimes that's what happens with people. I think like in my practice, I would feel like I was just kind of like, they would just tell me their problems. But my thing was, well, are you going to go home and start making changes? Your life. And so that's why I think that the energy was so powerful, because we were all just lined up, adjusting people. And it was just energy, because we really couldn't communicate. It was this energy flow. And when you're working on the body, you really start tapping into how much energy is there. And I think that's what took me to another level with where we can really start to resonate in our own selves. Like, hey, there's more to us here. There's an energy. We can raise our frequency and be in a bliss state. That's our God state. That's our normal state. I think our society has suppressed us so much
Right.
to live in these lower emotional vibrations, depression, despair, grief,
Yes.
trauma, anger, where if we can get to love, joy, inspiration, bliss, peace, we can live there. That can be the normal.
Right. I love how you said that. That's like God's energy at that point. That's really beautiful. And you know what else is beautiful about the story about you traveling to Brazil and India and not speaking the language is that you are in tune with just pure all of source energy at that point. And that's your only full way to communicate. And that is the purest way to communicate.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that's where all the magic happens.
Yes, very much so.
So you were communicating with these individuals energetically. What did you get out of it while you're adjusting them?
It changed. I realized I thought I was going to serve people and they served me because it changed my life.
Yes.
Like it really, I felt like I almost selfish. Like I got so much out of it because it
I can
changed my whole
imagine.
perspective. Yeah, it changed my whole perspective on seeing how those other cultures lived versus Americans. And I saw the pros and cons of both. So it made me appreciate a lot, have a new perspective and appreciate more different things. And it really, like, I felt that high love vibe there, especially in Brazil. But when I came back, I crashed. Like, I felt like I couldn't sustain it. Like, I felt like I went from one high and then I come home and it was like a depressed state. And I'm like, how do I create this home, you know, and in my normal? And it happened by default that I went into my gray state for like 18 months. It really did. I came back my third year from Brazil and I was very sick. And I just let the symptoms kind of clear themselves. And I had a lady who I was adjusting in my office and she said, "You're really carrying a lot of dark energy." And I felt that, but I didn't know what that meant. And I didn't say that to her. So I was listening to what she said and she said, "Take Epsom salt baths for like a week and tell the darkness to go to the light, light a white candle." So I was like, you know what? I didn't have words to describe what I was feeling in practice, what I was feeling on those mission trips. I knew I was tapping into energy and there's no verbiage or ways to describe this place that I was entering. So after I did that for a week, I just went into like this bliss state. It was that high vibe, but it lasted for like 18 months and there was no reason. Like it was like I fell in love, but there was no other person there. It was just, I just felt
a
high.
blissful state.
Even what I thought what I thought were problems, it would make me laugh. I'm like, there's no problems. Like, you see through the illusion of our human drama. And that's where I was. And I realized I kind of, through the years after, I started understanding how to get there deliberately. And I feel like pretty much now, I live in a pretty high vibe. It's not that I don't have bad days. It's not that I still don't have challenges. But it's easier because I have this grace that I know is my normal place. And I know I'm just growing and evolving as a person. And I can come back to it. And it's not that I fall down into deep depression, despair like before. It's not that you don't have hard times or you feel that sometimes, but you bounce back quicker. You have a different perspective when you're in it. So you're not as afraid.
So Dr. Carey, how do you get yourself deliberately back in a state of grace and how can others practice that?
Okay, it's a great question. This is what I was starting to realize when I was adjusting people in my office. I wanted to know why were some people would heal, some people wouldn't. Why were some people coming in with the same chronic issues? What was the common theme? And I realized it was people were not happy. They didn't have purpose. Not enough time, not enough money. Even if they wanted to really heal, they didn't have time to take off. They would only do what medical insurance paid for. If they wanted to do any alternative healings, it was out of pocket, so they couldn't afford it.
A lot of limitations.
Yes. Even like if they wanted to buy organic food and clean products, it cost more. So I saw this trap of the whole lifestyle. And I thought people need freedom in all those areas. So I started on a journey myself, even for the financial freedom, for healthy habits, all these things. And I think a great place to start is, because it's a lot, right? And everybody
it really is.
maybe some people might have money issues more pressing than health issues, or vice versa. Or maybe they just feel depressed. So it's like, where do you start? And you have to pick your area. But really, I think the one common theme that everybody can relate to is to get clear on what you want in your life. Because I think a lot of people don't know what they want. So I think a powerful tool is journaling. I love if you just take a pen to paper, because I think there's something powerful about writing something. I think it helps your creativity and your brain. And you can start with a few things. You can start with gratitude, writing a gratitude list every day. Like, what are you grateful for? Because I think it helps orient you on what you want and the blessings in the world instead of focusing on the problems. And then you can make another list of things that inspire you or things that made you happy during the day.
Things that bring
little
you
things
joy.
that brings you joy. Because I think we don't pay attention enough. Like even, that you saw a cute little dog run by, or you saw a beautiful flower or bird. Like, oh, that uplifted my heart. Write it down, because now you can start to become in tune to that feeling. Well, that's God talking to you. That's your inspiration. That's the life force. That's your immune system. It's all connected. So I think that's such a power. And then you can start paying attention when you get ideas or inspiration. They may be that you might think, oh, there's no way I can do that. But don't judge it. Just write it down. Because I think then you allow more and more synchronicities to come in, more ideas.
Coincidences,
a book will fall into your lap, right? The right video will come on. The right person comes into your life, and you get more and more information to guide you on your soul journey.
I think one of the most difficult parts about that, at least it was for me, is trusting the signs and the coincidence that came by and not dismissing them simply as, oh, that's just a coincidence. Oh, what a cool synchronicity that was. Moving on, actually look at it, appreciate it, love it, feel the joy, and say, this is a sign I'm on the right track. Every day is getting better and better for me, and every day in every way. And just continue and continue and continue on that bliss.
Absolutely. And the more you continue on that bliss, the more you get, because now you're allowing it in. And I think that's why if you can acknowledge, even if you can't do it throughout the day, maybe at night, you can just recall those moments and write them down, and don't dismiss them, because now you're actually making them special. Now you're acknowledging them. And when you write it down, you're affirming it in your mind.
Yeah. You know what else is beautiful as you're saying this about writing and journaling is that, and this goes back to the whole energy work that you were talking about that you did in Brazil and India, is that you're actually really not speaking. It's your body communicating through you, through your writing. And in that, there's energy moving around, and you're allowing energy to flow. And you're balancing and harmonizing at that point and welcoming. So that's really incredible to journal. I love journaling myself. So I definitely see that and I feel that. Are these practices that you do yourself?
Yeah, I've been journaling. It's funny. I've been journaling since I was 11 years old. I have all my journals. And then there was a period where I got out of chiropractic school, and I was reading Autobiography of Yogananda. Yeah. And I was following his lessons for like 3 years. And I also incorporated a gratitude journal. So besides my regular journaling, I would have my gratitude list. And I started with like 5 things. And then it ended up being like 25 things a day that I was writing. But then I had a connection. I realized in my regular journal, I was complaining. I was like, kind of writing all the negative, like venting. Yeah. And then I had my gratitude journal, and I had a switch. Like once I had my grace state, I realized I just journal now, because now I'm pretty much recapping all the blessings of the day. My brain totally switched.
It really did. And do you think that switch of brain had to do with the adjustment of your spine? Because you mentioned at the beginning of this interview that there was a conflicting energy or opposing sides, or one energy going one way, and the other one going the other way with the S curve of the spine. Do you feel that actually straightening that out kind of helped you become more into alignment with your purpose and your grace?
Yeah, I think there's a key piece to all of it. So I think like any kind of body work that you can get done, whether it's a chiropractic adjustment, a massage, acupuncture, neuropathy, all these things are just tools for you to get back in tune with the energy of your body. I just don't like when people mistaken it for your cure, because it's just a tool for you to remember that the cure is within. And these are tools to help to assist you to get back there. But we shouldn't become dependent on any one thing. It's not like, the adjustment fixed me, because it really didn't happen that way for me. And I'm kind of glad it did, because some people have that experience. Like, they have a pain, they get adjusted, they think that the chiropractic cured me. And I'm like, you missed the whole point.
Right.
The healing comes from within. And I think getting this kind of body work helped me align my energy, especially for me. I think it helped clear a lot of the trauma from the surgery, all the scar tissue, all the traumatic energies in there. I think it helps open it up, because I was really disconnected from my body before. I didn't realize that. I didn't even know. I mean, it was just my normal state, but it brought ease into my body so the energy could flow better. And I think that's what you're looking for. All these tools, the journal, trying to eat clean or not use chemicals in your products, finding your purpose and passion. Like, these are all things that get your energy moving, allowing the God source to flow within you beautifully. And that can be your natural state. So that's why I think that's the perspective I like people to have on those things.
I love that. Allow the God source to flow within you. Do you find when you're adjusting patients, the ones that you are able to kind of release like a blocked energy in certain parts of their body, have you found that there are specific emotions tied to specific blockages in specific parts of the body, or can it just be evenly dispersed? Emotions can kind of get trapped in anywhere within the body.
I think it's both. So I do think it's both. Are you familiar with Louise Hay?
Yeah, I love Louise Hay.
Yeah.
You know what? Louise Hay is actually the reason why I found out that, I'd lost my urinary bladder, which was very devastating for me at the time. But now I've actually turned grief into gratitude. I'm glad that I went through what I went through. But I realized after reading some of her stuff, incredible stuff, that there was a lot of anger and hate and fear that's stored in the bladder. And if that stuff isn't released, I mean, of course, it's going to become disease, meaning not at ease. And lo and behold, I lost my ability to pee, and it atrophied, and everything became paralyzed. So, and at the time I was having a lot of issues with my gender, my sexuality, and not being able to express myself. And it just, lo and behold, you can't express yourself in that sacral chakra. I mean, the fears are going to manifest into something that's paralytic. And that's what happened to me. So I see it now. And I've also read the book, The Body Keeps the Score. And it's totally all makes sense. I'm just wondering if you, as a professional chiropractic, have also physically seen that and felt that with your patients.
Yes, definitely. I think that would be what I was wanting to connect for people, because people would come in and say, oh, all of a sudden I just have this pain or this symptom, and like everything was fine. And I already know. I'm like, that's not how it works in my brain. So I'm like, so are you stressed out in your life? Oh no, everything's fine. Well, then they would start telling me about their day, and I was just stressed out listening to it. It was so awful, but they think that's normal.
They're just not aware of it. To them, that's their normal.
That's their normal. And I'm like, well, guess what? Your body's going to break down until you start waking up, until you start paying attention that this isn't normal. There's another way. Your soul's screaming at you, like, please stop all this craziness, the busyness, the lack, all this stuff that you're living in, whether it's bad relationships, all these things. So we can live like that for a while, but you're going to get little calls, little whispers. If you're not listening, you're going to get bigger ones, bigger screams.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I'm fascinated with that Louise Hay chart, because every time I look up a symptom, whether it's for somebody tells me they have something, I go and look in the chart. And I mean, on every time, even myself, like, sometimes I'm like, why am I feeling that there? And I look at the chart and I'll be like, damn, every time it's on. It's so amazing.
Have you been using that chart with your patients?
I have, yes.
And how do they feel about it? How do they feel when you're right on with something? What do they tell you? Or do you let them tell you? Or do you kind of just probe and ask the questions?
What I do is I always just recommend the book to them.
Yeah.
Because I say, there's an emotional connection to the symptom that you're having. So, I mean, some people say, oh, yeah, so it's right on. And other people might not ever get the book or address it. Do you know what I mean?
Which book is this one specifically?
You Can Heal Your Body.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's really cool because she'll have the symptom, even the whole spine. The spine's listed in there too, all the vertebrae and what they represent.
Wow.
And they put the emotion the emotion, like the negative emotion that you're stuck in, but then it also gives you a positive affirmation that you can say to help shift it.
Interesting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know any of these positive affirmations that you say to yourself that have helped you?
I can't think of any right now. I have so many. Sometimes I have like different things I work on. Like I always have my little index cards, and
Yeah.
I'll say my affirmations sometimes, or it just helps me shift what I'm going through. But I'm not really saying anything at the moment. I feel very
You feel like the energy I feel from you is very much at ease.
Yeah, like I feel very surrendered right now, and
I love that, surrendered.
Yes, it's not like I don't feel like I'm trying to try, or I'm not trying to fix anything or shift anything right now. I feel in a surrendered, guided state.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But it's not to say that the affirmations aren't necessary part of the journey, but that doesn't mean that you have to do them all the time, every day. Like all these are all tools, right?
Yes.
Sometimes they work for you depending on what you're going through in the moment, and then you can shift out of them.
Mm-hmm.
You can outgrow healers that you see, or different people. You need different people in your life at different times. We're always evolving.
Absolutely, and we're always attracting what we're evolving and how we're evolving.
Yes.
I love how you said this, Dr. Carey, in a surrendered, guided state. That's amazing, because if you're not the opposite, so for listeners or viewers or watchers that are tuning into this podcast, the opposite of not being in a surrendered, guided state is being in a resistant state. And when you're going towards resistance, you're creating blockages and you're going against the current at that point.
Yes, and then you're swimming upstream and everything's difficult.
Yeah, right.
But you know what? Sometimes you have to go in. I mean, this is me too.
Sure.
Like I feel like I have to go through my struggle and try everything sometimes and hit a wall.
Yes.
And then like you fall and it's like, okay, what am I missing? And then sometimes that's when you can let go and be in a surrendered state. And I kind of just went through that a little bit. I'm like, it's okay.
Well, we wouldn't know otherwise, correct?
Right.
We need to know all the different colors of the rainbow in order to differentiate what we're looking at and what we're feeling. So, I mean, that the whole ebb and flow, the waves on the ocean back and forth, some of them are thunderous and expansive, and then some of them are calm. We kind of have to ride the wave and go with the flow. And that's really how we find our inner grace.
Yes. And you touched on something there. We can't be afraid to feel the negative too. Because like you said, all the colors of the rainbow, we need the whole spectrum of emotions, because this is how we create as humans, as spiritual beings. We create by feeling all the contrast of life. So even if we're having what we label a negative experience, you have to trust that it's serving you in some way in order to have your growth that you need as a soul in this body on this journey. So It's just, so even though when we think we're becoming spiritual, like, I kind of went through this for a while, like, oh, I don't want to feel this way because I'm not, now I lost my grace, or, it's not spiritual. I'm angry. Well, now I own my anger. When I'm feeling angry, I'm like, you know what? It's good too.
Right.
But I think the difference is you don't want to get stuck there and continually create from that place. It's awareness to at least know where you're at, so you can do what you have to do to guide yourself through it.
It's awareness. Exactly. I love how you said that, because if you're not aware of the fact that you're currently angry or somebody's currently angry, you're going to keep riding the flow of anger. But if you're angry and you allow yourself to be angry and say, okay, right now I'm angry. And what is anger teaching me? What is it showing me? Take some deep breaths and allow it to come and flow out of you rather than being stuck on that vibration. And when you do that, you also allow it to be released out of your body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because energy has to flow. Right. And this is why this is what I would feel as a chiropractor. Why is there areas that are so stressed in your body, or areas that I want to adjust in your spine? Because you're not processing the emotions or your mental stress or the things in your life. You're not processing the energy. So it gets so blocked and it becomes hardened, and just think about when you're stressed, your body gets like this.
Right.
And that's exactly why the dis-ease in your life comes out as disease.
Yes.
And, right.
Stress is constriction.
Yes.
And we want to expand.
That's right. And it's also the resistance that you talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what an amazing chiropractic you are, a chiropractic doctor. This is amazing, because I mean, I've been to chiropractics before, and it's just, yeah, I don't get the same philosophy or the same ebb and flow conversational alignment that I'm getting with you right now. So you've really aligned yourself with your purpose. Do you feel that you've aligned yourself with your purpose, or do you feel that you're going to keep expanding into more horizons?
I think I'm going to keep expanding. But
Yeah, I think so.
I felt like I've done a lot. I figured out a lot of things, and I'm really grateful for the wisdom I've kind of incorporated. I think I'm mostly grateful that I got to the grace state, because I feel like that's the cure all for all. Like, I know I feel that place within.
Yes.
So even if I'm going through a hard time, I'm not as afraid.
Mhm.
It's like
Absolutely.
a strength when
Yeah.
you feel that grace state.
Earlier, you mentioned like Epsom salt baths, and I'm bringing this up because I take Epsom salt baths about 5 nights a week, sometimes with crystals, with candles and meditation music playing. And that's my state of grace. I can sit in the tub for 45 minutes to an hour. Of course, my cats were scratching at the door, wondering what I'm doing in there, but but I absolutely love it. And I look forward to it. And I didn't even realize how much, because I originally started doing it back when my genetic disease was still active. I had a lot of spasms all over my body. So it was recommended by my East West doctor, but it ended up being something very spiritual and beautiful for me. And now I just do it because I really enjoy it. And I enjoy being with my own solitude and my own mind, and creating love and joy and just the perfection of the soul that I am in that salt bath. What does it do though, as a doctor? How can you tell our listeners, our viewers and our watchers what an Epsom salt does to the body physically and the mind?
Yeah. So the salts are drawing out all the toxins.
Okay.
Yep. So
Not
all the
just from the
toxins.
skin?
No, everything. So it's just your skin is one way to get rid of toxins.
Mhm.
Just like going to the bathroom and sweating, what you sweat. So the Epsom salts will actually draw the toxins out and really cleanse you in so many ways. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
fascinating.
The skin is one of your biggest organs.
Right.
That's why I always tell people, watch what you're putting on your skin, because
Uh-huh.
you should use natural products, because it goes right into the bloodstream.
Right. Yes, absolutely. I love what you said. Is natural the same as organic, or are they separate, different?
I mean, you got to watch, because I think organic has become, you have
A
to go through certain.
buzzword?
Yeah, the thing is that what they legally want to say is natural isn't really okay. For instance, like in the US, they only ban like 11 ingredients that they say are toxic. In Europe, they ban like 1,400.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I think it's really, you want to start reading labels and just see what kind of company are you buying from,
Uh,
and what are they actually putting in. Just don't, I mean, I hate to say it, because even sometimes I look at what they label organic in the grocery store, and I'm like, it doesn't feel good. Like you start
yeah.
getting in tune with, even though it says organic, they just don't look as good. I don't know. So sometimes I just have to kind of, I try to buy from like companies, or a brand
Yes.
that I know is being honest about stuff.
And also the lesser of the ingredients, the least of ingredients in a product, the more natural and pure it is.
Exactly. Yes, the pure it is. Right. And that
Yeah.
means your body doesn't have to go through 9,900 ingredients, at the
Right.
same time.
And if they're words you can't pronounce, most likely it's not natural.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. So
And
Dr.
it's not
Carey,
to
yeah.
say, that's not to say that you have to be like, and then I don't want people to become like neurotic with that either. Because I do see people,
Mhm.
when they're trying to learn to eat clean, they start feeling like guilty if they ate something bad. And here's the deal.
Yes.
You just try to do the best you can, like,
Yeah.
80% of the time, or try to shop clean. But go out, if you're going to go out and eat a meal, just enjoy it. Because by judging the food and judging what you're putting in your body in a negative way, that's just as bad as like eating organic and judging it versus eating the junk food and enjoying it. Like, I'd rather see you
True.
enjoy the meal and be mindful and be present when you eat, and really start getting into what your body wants. I mean, I gotta be honest, sometimes maybe it's my energy's off. I'm really craving like junk food, and I
Yeah.
enjoy it, and I
Oh
eat
yeah,
it.
that happens to me. Yeah,
Yeah, and it serves me at the moment. But
it
you know
does.
what? I can't be doing that every meal, like,
Right.
because then I'll feel sick. So I think it's about getting in tune with yourself too.
And that's almost the same notion as when you're feeling a negative thought, kind of just go through it, and it's really not going to harm your body as long as you let it go. So if you're craving the bag of Cheetos and you're enjoying it, have your bag of Cheetos and enjoy it as long as it doesn't become a habit.
That's right. 100%.
Yeah. After this, I'm going to grab me a bag of Cheetos.
I love it.
Dr. Carey, this has been really amazing. I love your energy. I love your ease, your comfort, and this just beautiful topic that we discussed. Where can our viewers and our watchers and our listeners find you if they need to get a hold of you?
Yep. So I have a website. It's creatingmydesiredlife.com. And you can go on there and you can email me. You can ask me a question. You can get on my mailing list. And my book is on there, which is called My Journey to Grace. And it's also on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So
excellent.
And I love this conversation. You know why we had so much fun? Because we're on the same vibe.
We are on the same vibe, yeah.
I can feel the same grace and ease coming from you. You're on a very high vibration. And then I feel like when two people see how the world could change, this gets me excited because people don't understand when we're in this high vibe, and somebody else is in the high vibe too. It's an exponential. It's easy. You thrive off each other. And other people are attracted. It's an exponential joy. And I really believe this is how we really change the world. Everybody needs to find inner joy. And when we're all coming from that place, it's going to be like just magic. The whole world's going to shift.
And you know what's interesting about that too? Thank you so much. I really do feel the vibration being like energy. And that's why we attracted each other to be interviewed in the first place, which is really amazing. Yeah. And I love the connection. Thank you. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. I was going to say that. Wait, now I forgot.
Oh, no.
I was too much on the high joy, the joy love cloud.
Yep. I love it.
But anyways, this has really been amazing. Everybody, Dr. Lynn Carey, createmydesiredlife.com. Creatingmydesiredlife.com. And her book on Amazon is called My Journey to Grace. Yeah. Thank you so much for blessing us with your grace. I look forward to keeping this connection, and I wish you and your loved ones an incredible, blessed day.
You too, Dr. Lino. Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
I agree. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Dr. Lino Show, A Little Less Fear podcast. If you'd like to get a hold of me, you can do so by sending me an email at alittlelessfear@gmail.com or through an inquiry from my website at www.alittlelessfear.com, where you will always find information on where to get my book. You can get my book on Amazon and Amazon paperback version, Kindle or Kindle Unlimited. And I also create incredible visual video poetry for people that are interested in marketing or even just to send a personal note to anybody or somebody that you might love. So yeah, check it out. I love it. Poetry is my passion, one of my other passions, aside from doing what I do right now, which is giving you all the motivation that you need to keep growing, to keep motivating people, motivating yourself, and to keep expanding. I love you all so much. Have a blessed day and take care. Rock on.